What's going on, everybody? On today's episode of Excursion Cuts, we're going over 5 tips for shooting in low light situations. Stick around to the end of the video, and I'll include info on this place, my latest excursion. Rarely is light perfect when it comes to travel video. Usually the problem is too much light, that harsh midday light that makes people squint, shadows harsh, and leaves you relying on ND filters. But depending on your destination, you could be faced with a situation in which you're scrounging up as much light as you can possibly get your hands on. So let's see what we can do about this. Number 1. Use fast glass. If you're new to capturing images of your excursions, the word fast is referring to how wide you can open your lens's aperture. Aperture, of course, is the opening in your lens that controls the amount of light that's able to pass through it and hit your camera's sensor. The smaller the f-stop number, the wider your aperture can be opened. I used the Laowa 7.5mm f2 here and was open to f2 pretty much the entire time. Number 2. Size matters. The bigger your camera's sensor, the easier time you'll have in low light situations. Smaller sensors such as micro four thirds will struggle in low light compared to a full frame sensor. That being said, sensors in general have improved over the years to the point where even micro four thirds sensors are doing a noticeably better job than they were just a few years ago. Test your camera prior to your shoot so that you know how high you can crank up your ISO before the image completely falls apart. I'm comfortable shooting at ISO 1600 with the Panasonic GH5, and I know 3200 is right about the point where I'm going to start to see huge problems in my images. Number 3. Cinematic frame rates, a practical use. A general rule of setting your shutter speed for video is to double your frame rate. What I mean by that is if you shoot at 30 frames per second, you would set your shutter speed to 60. 60, of course, is referring to a 60th of a second, so I understand that it's not technically double. But if you set your frame rate to 60 frames per second, you would then set your shutter speed to 120. Now that would probably be 125 in your camera, but you can definitely round those numbers off. So shooting at 24 frames per second means you can set your shutter speed as low as 50, which will increase your exposure. Number 4. Slow-mo is a no-go. This one is kind of a continuation of the previous tip. You can still slow things down in post, but if your camera has a slow-mo mode, it is capturing video at a higher frame rate, which, as we just discussed, will increase your shutter speed and darken your image. Number 5. Bring your own damn light. Small portable LEDs are readily available, cheap as ever, and bright as hell. I walked around the ice castle with a Lume Cube, a light that gets up to 1500 lumens bright. Most of these are designed to be used on camera, but they certainly don't have to be. Their small size also makes them easy to gel. I actually have a set of gels for my speed light that I use to cover these little Lume Cubes. These images were captured at the Ice Castle in Dillon, Colorado, and there are 6 locations in total. Use the link below to check out their website, and I've also included links for the gear used on this excursion. Hope you found these tips useful. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to Excursion Cuts so that you're kept up to speed on my latest posts. Until next time, I'm Joe Baker.